Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back. Today I want to show you how you can turn one of these Raspberry Pis into the ultimate tiny hacking machine. Now, to make this lab really easy to build, I have documented the entire step-by-step process and all of the commands that we need on GitHub. For this lab to work, you're going to need a few things. So you need to have the Raspberry Pi 5. I have got the 16 gig model and I've also got the 8 gig model. I've tested this on both of them. Both will work. On that Raspberry Pi, you're going to need the Raspberry Pi OS Lite 64-bit. We're going to install Cockpit on there. Then we're going to do Docker, and then we're going to run Portainer. That's going to basically manage all of our containers. In terms of containers, we're going to run 3. We're going to have Kali Linux running in the browser. I want to access that from any computer in my house. We're also going to use Obsidian. Obsidian is a note-taking app. It's an app that you can use to document all of your learnings. And then we're going to have Metasploitable 2. Metasploitable 2 is just a container that we can do test Nmap scans and just play around with. Stick around to the very end as well, because I'm going to show you 2 different things that you can do on this lab that's going to completely change how you use this. So the very first stage in building this lab is building the Raspberry Pi OS. I'm using a 32 gig SD card that I bought with the Raspberry Pi. Generally, you connect it to your computer with an adapter like this, or if you have one of these, this will also work. So connect this to your computer, and then we're going to use the Raspberry Pi Imager to build the OS. Once you have your SD card connected to your computer, open up the Raspberry Pi Imager, and I'm going to choose the device. So I have the Raspberry Pi 5. The operating system we need, if you click on that, go down here to Raspberry Pi OS Other. We're going to choose the Raspberry Pi OS Lite 64-bit. So click on that one. Then we're going to choose the storage device, which is the SD card that I have just inserted. So click on that one. Then just click on Next. I'm just going to click on Edit Settings. There's some things I want to edit in here. So set the host name. I just use Raspberry Pi because it's just easy. Set the username and password. So this is the credentials you're going to use to log into the Raspberry Pi using SSH and Cockpit, etc. Under Services, you need to make sure you've enabled SSH and then just set it as Use Password Authentication. Then under Options, you can leave those. So just click on Save. Then just click on, would you like to apply the OS customization settings? Yes, it is probably going to ask me for my password. Pop that in, click OK, and that will go through the process to build the SD card. Okay, that is done. So once you've done that, you're going to take this and you're going to put this into the Raspberry Pi and then just boot it up. After we've built the OS, we've booted it up, we're going to SSH to the Raspberry Pi now. Then we're going to do some things. We're going to do an update, then we're going to do an upgrade. We're going to install Cockpit. That's going to allow us to log in here and be able to manage and really just review the resources that's being used on the Raspberry Pi. Once we've done that, we will get Docker installed, and then we'll install Portainer. That will allow us to build all of the additional containers. So let's go and SSH to this device and get this process started. So I want to make sure it is online. It is online, so I know the IP address because I have set a DHCP reservation on my firewall. So every time that device turns on, it automatically gets the same IP address. Now you probably won't have done this, especially if it's your first time building a Raspberry Pi. There's 2 other ways that you can find the IP address of your device. One way is literally just to plug a monitor into the Raspberry Pi that will show the IP address of the device. The other way is to download something like an IP scanner. That way you can scan your entire home network and you'll be able to find the device. We've given it the Raspberry Pi host name, so you should see that there. The third way is you can log into your home router or firewall, just check your DHCP leases, and you should see that device listed there. So let's SSH to the Raspberry Pi. SSH Jared at 10.96.11.11. Hit yes. Okay, password. Cool, and we are in. So looking at the commands that we have to do the sudo apt update, then the sudo apt upgrade, and then we're going to go and install Cockpit. So let's do that. Update. And then the next one, which is sudo apt upgrade. Okay, that is done. So the next thing we need to do is get Cockpit installed. Again, that is very easy. Sudo apt install Cockpit. Hit enter and Y for yes. Perfect. Now what we can do is go to the browser, and it's going to open up a new tab. I type in 10.96.11.11. Let's import 90.90, hit enter. So let's get logged in here. So this is the same username and password you use to SSH to the Raspberry Pi. So this is Cockpit. This is the user interface for your device, and you can do a lot of stuff in here. I won't go through Cockpit, the entire user interface at the moment. That will be a separate different video altogether. But just know that from in here, you can manage this device. You can go into your terminal. From here, you can actually do things on the Raspberry Pi itself. You can see all of the various different updates that need to be applied. Under the storage, you can keep an eye on the actual storage of the device. I'm using a 32 gig card. So this is pretty cool. This is a good way for you to easily manage your device without having to SSH and run all these commands manually. Before we move any further in today's video, I want to thank today's sponsor, and that is me. If you've noticed over the last couple of videos, I have been wearing this merch. This is my Blue Dog merch that I've created. It's named after my blue dog, my staffy called Barry. But I've created some stuff. There is some hats. There is a number of different types of hoodies. There's the blue one, the green one, and there is a bunch of t-shirts and stuff on here. Now I have put everything on my website, just jerdobrand.com. I wanted to build some merch just as an additional way, just to try and help fund all of this stuff and buying all of this gear that it costs and requires to make YouTube videos. So check it out. It's on jerdobrand.com/store. You'll see everything that you need is there. Okay, so going back to the GitHub page. So to install Docker, I've listed all of the different commands that you need below, and I'm simply just going to copy them over into my terminal. So let's get Docker installed. I'm just going to paste that. Okay, so Docker is installed. Let's get the next command. This command will add the local user that I'm logged in as to the Docker group. Let's copy that, go back to the terminal, and I'm just going to paste that in. Perfect. Okay, so that is done. Docker is there. So let's go and get the image that we need for Portainer. So this command will pull down the latest image. So copy that one. Back in terminal, we're going to paste that. So hit paste. So I need to add sudo before that. So I'm just going to press up, press home, type in sudo, hit enter, and that should then pull down the latest Portainer image. Happy days. Perfect. Okay, let's go back to GitHub, and this command here is the command you need to run the Portainer container. So I'm going to copy that one, go back to your terminal, I'm going to paste that in, and that should be it. Sudo docker ps, and as you can see, this container is up and going, and it's up and going on port 9000. So let's go and open a new tab. I'm going to type in 10.96.11.11 and support 9000. And as you can see, Portainer is loading up. So whenever you first set this up, you need to enter in a decent password. It must be 12 characters long. Enter, get logged in. So whenever you log in, it's going to look like this. All you have to do is click on home at the top. I'm going to click on this live connect to my local Docker environment, hit on live connect. And as you can see in here, you've got containers. We only have Portainer at the moment. Images, you only have the Portainer one, networks. So all of this is just using the default config. So now we have all of that done. We've got Raspberry Pi built, Cockpit built, Docker and Portainer. We can then start the next part of this lab, which is building 3 additional containers. Now, before I do that, I'm going to make some changes to Portainer just around the networks and stuff. Before we build the 3 containers that I need, let me show you the images that we're going to use. We're going to use images from Linux server. So the Kali Linux images here. We can actually access this Kali Linux instance in the browser. That's one of the things that I wanted for this lab. I use like Windows and Mac and Linux and lots of different machines. So accessing Kali in the browser from anywhere in my home was really important, and this is perfect. The next thing we want to run is a container for Metasploitable 2. That is really just so I can play around with Metasploitable and do some mmap scans and just do some local stuff. If forever I don't have any internet on my machine and I just want to play around locally, then at least I have this container running. The third thing I need is Obsidian. This is, well, you've definitely heard of Obsidian, but this is a tool you can use for making notes and keeping notes, and I'm going to use this for documenting all of the stuff that I'm learning. 2 things that I haven't mentioned in this lab yet that we are going to set up as well, and that is VPNs to hack the box and try hack me. I want this lab to be to be next level learning for me. It's going to be a small little lab that's going to be running constantly on my home. I'm going to be able to just go to the browser, log in, and be able to get started straight away with Try Hack Me and Hack the Box. So it's going to be there. It's going to be perfect. It's exactly what I've been looking for. So before we actually get building any of those containers, let's go back to Portainer. I mentioned there were some changes that I wanted to make here. Whenever you generally build containers, it's going to use this host IP address and then whatever port that container is running on. I don't really want that. I want my containers to be running in their own individual IP addresses, and there is some network changes that we need to make for that to happen. Now it is pretty simple to do. All you have to do is go down here to networks, and I'm going to add 2 different networks. The first one is a configuration. I'm just going to click on add network. I'm going to call this one host network config. I'm going to set the driver to Mac VLAN. I'm going to leave this as configuration. The parent network card, so that is the name of the Ethernet adapter on your Raspberry Pi. Now I know it is ETH0. Now if you ever want to find out what this is on yours, the easiest way to do that is to go back to your terminal. In here, all you have to do is type in IPA and look at the adapters that are on your machine. As you can see, this one here, this is the one that's connected, is ETH0. Back here in Portainer, we're going to continue the build of this config file. So under the subnet, my lab is on the 1096.11.0/24 subnet. If you're just using your home internet, it could be 192.168.0 or 1.0. The gateway for me, this is my home router, so 1096.11.254. That's what I'm using. The IP range. Now this is a number of addresses that you want to issue for your containers. Now you don't want to add the entire thing. I want to add a much smaller subnet within that other range that I can dedicate just to containers. Now the easiest way to do that is to go over to a subnet calculator. This is one that I have opened already. So I have typed in a later part in the range, so 1096.11.128, and I'm going to set as /27. I'm using a /27 because it's going to give me maximum of 30 hosts. If you're not a networking person and you don't understand any of this, then you can copy what I'm doing here. It is just going to reserve 30 different addresses that you can use for your containers. So I'm going to copy that. I'm going to go back to Portainer. For the range of addresses, I'm going to set this as 10.96.11.128, and it's going to be /27. Okay, let's click on create this network. The second network that we need, we're going to click on add network. I'm going to call this host network. I'm going to change this to Mac VLAN again. This time it's going to be creation because we want to create this using the config we just created. Select the one you've just created, the home network config, and then all you have to do is click on create the network. And success. If you do get any error messages here, I've done this in the past and sometimes it just shoots up random error messages. Restart your Raspberry Pi and then come back here and just follow through these steps again, and it will probably work for you. So let's go back over to containers and let's create our first container. Now, as I said, we have 3 containers to build. The first one we're going to build is the Kali Linux. So we'll come back to the Linux server website. Again, I'll link all of these in the description below so they're there. Let's go up to the top and you should see simply pulling this should bring down the latest image for this container. So copy that, go back over to Portainer. I'm going to click on add container. I'm just going to call this Kali. I'm going to paste that in there. Now, if we go back over to this website again, you can see that it says the application setup. The Kali Linux image can be accessed at these 2 URLs. There is port 3000 and 3001. So we need to make sure they have been mapped as well. So go back to Portainer. Under the map additional port, go in there, type in 3000. So this is just going to map port 3000 on the host to port 3000 on the container. Again, if you don't know anything about containers, just do what I'm doing. Click map additional port 3001 and then do 3001. Now there is 2 other changes that you need to make before we can even start this container. So go to network. You want to put this into the host network that we have just configured. Click on that one. Then you want to go over here to this tab at the end called runtime resources. You want to enable privilege mode. Now, if you don't do this, you won't be able to run anything like nmap scans or pretty much do anything on this Kali Linux container. So you need to make sure that you have done this. So let's go back and just check everything. And let's just click on deploy. Now, the first time you deploy this, it is going to pull down the image, so it might be a little bit slow. Okay, finally, that took ages to build, but it's done. So all we have to do now is open up a new tab and let's give that a test. So 1096.11.128.3000 Chasm VNC. So okay, as you can see, this is Kali Linux running in the browser. Let's just test if we can do nmap and make sure the privileged checkbox worked. Okay, that is there. Okay, that's perfect. So there you have it. That is Kali running in the browser. So I should be able to access that from any PC or any computer at all in my home. So the next two containers that we have to build are the Metasploitable 2 container and also Obsidian. So let's go and get started with them. I'm just going to go to Docker Hub here. This is the container that I want. So I'm going to copy this, go back to Portainer. I'm going to click on Add Container. Then I'm going to put in, I'm just going to do MS2. I'm going to paste this and I'm just going to change the network. So I want to put that on my host network and I'm going to click on deploy the container. Okay, that one is done. And as you can see, that is now running on this IP address. So that is 1096.11.129. So let's go back. I'm going to test that from the Kali Linux container. So we're going to open up Firefox. I'm going to type in the IP address at the top. So that is 10.96.11.129 Metasploitable ARM64. So that is up and going. Let's go to terminal and let's test nmap and see if that works. 96.11.129. Perfect. As you can see, it has found those open ports on that container. Okay, so last container we need is Obsidian. Again, this is going to be used so we can keep all of our notes, especially as we are doing the Try Hack Me stuff and Hack the Box. I want to keep a place somewhere central that I can easily access from this Kali Linux container, and I'm just going to be able to document everything there. I'm going to use the Obsidian image from Linux server. Again, this has been the fastest one that I've seen. Just copy this bit here. So simply pulling this image, I'm going to copy that. I'm going to go back to, actually no, before I do that, let's check. So there is a number of ports. So as you can see, this is also running on port 3000 and 3001. So let's go back to Portainer. I'm going to click on Add Container. I'm going to type in the name, Obsidian. I'm going to paste the text to get the image. I'm going to go down here. We're going to do the same thing we did with Kali. We're going to use the same ports, 3000, and we're also going to do 3001. 3001. Leave this as administrator. Now don't forget to go back into networking and just change this so we are going to use the host network. So do that. Then all we have to do is click on deploy this container and that is it done. So it looks like that is done. So let's go and see. You can see Obsidian is here. It is using this 1096.11.130. So let's go back to Kali. I'm going to go back to the browser. I'm going to open up a new tab and I'm going to type in 10.96.11.130 and let's import 3000. And as you can see, that is now opening Obsidian. So click on Quick Start and that should get you started for note taking and just documenting everything that you've learned. So there you have it. That is everything that you need for this lab to get going. So you have Raspberry Pi OS, you've got Cockpit, you have got Docker, you're using Portainer to manage the containers, we've got Kali Linux, we have got Metasploitable 2, and we have Obsidian. The next two things that I want to do just before we finish off is to create those VPNs to Try Hack Me and Hack the Box. Again, two free platforms that you can use just for learning and just getting better at cybersecurity stuff. So I'm logged into Try Hack Me and Hack the Box, and to get the VPNs going from this Kali Linux machine, it is really simple to do. The first thing you need to do is make sure you have got the OpenVPN software installed. It should already be there, but sudo apt install OpenVPN. So OpenVPN is already on the newest version, which is good. So in Try Hack Me, underneath the VPN configuration settings, all you have to do is go in here and click on the download configuration file. That's going to download the file that you need. Once you've done that, go over to your terminal and make sure you are in the downloads folder. Go cd downloads and then type in ls. You should see the configuration file that you've just downloaded. To run this, to get connected to the VPN, it's sudo OpenVPN. Then I'm just going to type in the name of the file, which is jerderbrand.ovpn. Hit enter And as you can see, that is just going to get you connected to the VPN. Now for TryHackMe, it's pretty easy to check that you're connected. Just go back here and hit refresh, and you should see this has now said connected. For Hack the Box, it's the exact same process. You need to go to the Hack the Box page, get logged in, and go to the VPN settings. Then just click on download VPN connection file. Go back to your terminal and type in ls again, and you should see now you have the Academy regular OVPN file. Again, it's the same process. Sudo open VPN Academy regular OVPN, hit enter, and that is going to get you connected out to Hack the Box. So that's it. That is the ultimate tiny little hacking machine. Everything is up and going. You have the Docker, Portainer. Once you've got those two, you can download all of the ARM64 containers that you want. Remember to keep an eye on Cockpit and the resources of your Raspberry Pi. You don't want to download too much or it might go on fire. You have the other containers that we need. So we have the Kali Linux that is running in the browser, which is this one. We have got Obsidian for all of our note taking and documenting all of our learnings, and then you also have Metasploitable too. I just wanted that as a local container that we could play around with. So hope you enjoyed today's video. Remember to go and check out the Barry merch on the website charterbrand.com/store. Everything is there. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next week.